Welcome to At the Table,
where we are connecting entrepreneurs, discovering missions, and building communities with purpose, body, soul, mind, and business with
Charlie
and Heather.
with Women in Leadership.
Did it right.
Hello and welcome back to the table where we love to interview women and entrepreneurs and see what is going on in their lives and businesses, bringing the heart and soul of their businesses to you.
Happy Friday, and we are so excited to have one of our favorite humans back on here with us. Not only does she help us be able to pay ourselves, but she is an amazing mom and community member
these
too.
areas of the
We are blessed to work
Marysville Police
with her
Department,
on the
law
Marysville Police
enforcement,
Foundation
officer
board,
wellness, and the community
she's
outreach
just really
programs
giving
and
of all of her
activities.
information. So
We look
welcome
forward
back
to
to the
serving
table,
you.
Chelsey.
Chelsey Gonzales of Safe Haven Accounting. Welcome.
Thank you. I love chatting with you guys. You know that. It's tax day today, and I know this will be released when it's not tax day, but we're recording it on the 18th, and it's a big day for a lot of people in my world. And today, I will tell you, I was on a Zoom this morning with a nonprofit coalition, and they're like, "Why are you here? It's tax day." Because I'm a bookkeeper. I'm not a CPA. So for me, tax day is not as big of a deal as like tax professionals. And that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about, was kind of the timelines around bookkeeping and tax season, and a lot of when you're an employee, you don't really deal with your taxes except one time a year, right? And that's how we all kind of go as we work for other people. But when you become a business owner, it's really becomes a year-round process. And I think if my biggest goal for the clients that I have is switching gears from thinking about it as a once a year thing. Of what is your business doing financially? What savings do you need to put aside for your taxes? You know, what's your tax strategy look like? That's something you talk to your CPA about, which if you don't have a CPA that talks to you more than once a year, find someone that does. Or ask them if
CPA, for like anybody that's like, okay, acronyms, my brain isn't working, is a certified public accountant.
And honestly, I love that you said that, because I usually say tax professional, because a lot of folks think I do taxes. I do sales taxes. I help people with payroll taxes, but I don't do federal tax returns. Some CPAs have bookkeeping in their firm, some don't. So it really depends on the professional you're talking to, what their scope of work is. So that's a really great point. I usually say tax professional and bookkeeper. Those are the words I like to use because I'm not a tax professional. But I do help folks file some of their taxes, like their sales and excise and payroll stuff. So great point. But timeline wise, my deadlines are a lot sooner than your CPAs, because I need to get your books caught up and finished for the prior year and sent over to them so that they can do your file your tax return. So a lot of my work, my busy time, is more like January, February. If you are a business owner and you happen to be an S Corp, then your first tax return happens to be, your deadline is March 15th, by the way, which I just became an S Corp. So now I'm thinking about next year, like, oh, I need to make sure my own books are up to date before the beginning of March for my CPA to handle. So, and then your individual tax return gets done in April.
So what I'm really hearing is that you should put that in your calendar. And I'm shitting on us because I think we'll feel better, right? And we'll feel better if we put this in the calendar, and we'll know that we're on top of our taxes, because that's always something that like creates great anxiety. So we've loved having Chelsey in our pocket for this experiment with our business, right? This whole process has been way less painful than we could imagine it being, because we have Chelsey in our pocket, right? Like you're in our corner. You're like, you've got our back.
Mhm.
If we don't know the question to ask, you ask us questions till we have the right question.
Mhm.
And I love that about you. And then
Mhm.
you also made an amazing referral to a tax specialist, so we could get our taxes done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On time. And you
On
didn't
Yeah.
time. And not
No
only
extensions.
I was able to file our business taxes for the year and then our personal taxes.
We're
were
looking for mine, but yeah,
um,
we're
filed
working
for the
on
year.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been really amazing. And the process that you guys use working together through QuickBooks is like Chelsey can go in and reconcile my books and make sure everything's lined up. And then Rebecca, our CPA, can go in and do the taxes really easy. So making sure that you have the systems in place for your bookkeeper or your tax professional is also super important when you're getting ready for tax season. And making sure you have that stuff in order can make or break your business.
And
Yeah.
when it comes to planning for deadlines, when you start hiring it out, like a bookkeeper and or a tax professional, I will tell you that January is not a good time to hire because we're at that point, most of our clientele is full up. Our capacity is usually limited. That's the biggest thing I've noticed this last 4 months is I have a lot of people trying to find a bookkeeper or a tax professional. And I say you can ask the tax professionals that I refer to, but they may not have room right now. And so what a lot of times that happens, it creates more panic, right? Oh, well, shoot, who do I hire? That's usually when, if you can find someone to take you on in that time period, they'll file an extension because they don't have the capacity to do your books or do your return prior to the deadline. They'll file an extension and then file your return after that, after the April 15th, 18th deadline. So it's always now, honestly, now to the fall, so summertime is really the best time to find a bookkeeper and a tax professional. Which you wouldn't think summertime, but that's when, like right now, I'm offboarding 3 clients, and so I have capacity right now, where 2 months ago that wasn't the case. So it just things ebb and flow, and um, it takes us time, especially bookkeeping. If you, for example, haven't done your books for all of 2022, that takes a bookkeeper time to get caught up, to get it accurate, and then to send it over to your tax professional. That takes the tax professional time to then compile your tax return. So all of that takes time. I usually do a cleanup in 30 days, depending on the length of time. And I call it a cleanup, but really what it is historical bookkeeping. But in the world of bookkeeping, the term that a lot of bookkeepers use is cleanup.
Making them
So
pretty, right?
yeah,
That makes sense to me too, because every quarter as a business, you should be filing quarterly taxes. I believe that that's a thing now in Washington where they want everybody to be doing quarterly taxes.
let me explain what that
I
means.
don't know much more than it's a thing, maybe.
There's a couple different buckets of taxes as a business owner. Okay. So there's Washington State sales and excise tax. And that when you file, when you have a business license and you have to file, you either file annually, quarterly, or monthly. And they determine the schedule for you. But usually based on the business type, usually based on your revenue and things like that. For me, it's annual. For like contractors, general contractors, usually monthly because they have a lot of money going in and out. And other businesses are all different. But so that's one type of tax, right? And then there's payroll taxes, which is a whole nother ball of wax. And if you need payroll services, I can refer you to a company that really handles it all. And most of my clients actually manage their own payroll with this company. I also can support payroll through this company, but a lot of my smaller clients don't have the capacity cash flow to hire me for payroll so they can handle it themselves through a great company that does all the tax payments for you, and it's lovely and it's great.
I've heard really good feedback about that system from your
Yes.
clients too, right?
Yes.
They really like it as they grow. They're like, Chelsea's got me. I know that we know how to do the thing, and it's not that difficult. I actually was able to figure it out. It was like, okay, this isn't so bad.
Having somebody you can call, whether it's the payroll service provider or me, since I usually have access to the payroll service, even if I'm not actually running the payroll, I can still usually help out my clients if there's an issue. And then with QuickBooks Online, you mentioned that I am a huge fan. That's where all my certifications are, because I've worked for Intuit, so I kind of know where they're going, and QuickBooks Online is where they're going. So a lot of accountants and bookkeepers that have been in business a long time, they might use both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. I hear a lot of longtime accountants talk about how they don't like QuickBooks Online. There's a lot of benefits though to QuickBooks Online over desktop, and really the only types of businesses that should stay with desktop are really big enterprises or really big nonprofits. But mostly everybody else can go with QuickBooks Online and have very efficient bookkeeping, financing, all of that. So I'm a big fan.
I love using QuickBooks Online. Yeah.
Have you tried the app at all?
Have I what?
Have you tried the app?
Yes, I have used the app. You can use the app to track your mileage in your car, and when you have a business expense out in town, say you have a meal with a client or something like that, you can just snap your receipt and then match it with the transaction when it hits, and it's actually really awesome.
And I love it because Chelsey really models this. So when you're out and doing something, you take that second and you snap the picture and put it in that. Then it's done, right? Like every time. So you don't come to Chelsey with a box full of receipts going, help, right?
Yep. That's really funny. So we went out to lunch, and at the end of lunch, you watched me put the receipt on the table and take a picture. That's a habit that I had to put into place, because if it doesn't happen either there or like I get in my car, I go to the post office, I get in my car, I snap the receipt in the car before I leave. Because if it doesn't happen, then I won't track it. That's just my habit. Now, some people have a folder they put things or whatever, but here's the thing. For virtual bookkeepers like myself, I don't accept paper receipts. What that means is
you're gonna have to take a picture one way or another.
what that means is either you get to snap them all at once, which I used to do in my prior business. I would spend like a week or 2 weeks snapping pictures of all my receipts for the year. Do you know how much time that took? When I could have just done it as I went, and it was not 2 weeks out of my year that I had to
10
spend.
seconds at a time, maybe.
I just have this image because one of our biz girlfriends had like all of her receipts on her table. It was terrifying to me. Like I just had this nightmare of like all of this paper. I was like, the cat's gonna come by and knock a pile off. Like, no. So I just like anything I could do to avoid that, I'm good with, because I don't like a paper nightmare.
Well, and not only just having paper, like these days, I don't really function with paper much at all. I snap it or I put it in Google Drive and then I get rid of it. But not only that, if your books are up to date, you have real-time information where you can then make business decisions. Where when I was running my prior business, the reason I shut down was because I did not know what was going on day to day, month to month. And that caused so much anxiety in me. It did not work. I need to know what's going on with my money, or things are not, or I'm stressed and I'm grumpy and I'm not a fun person to be around. So just ask my husband.
So what if you took that stress off of you? Like, right? Like we're talking about that as we're creating free time solutions for business owners, like creating that free up of, I don't have to stress about the money because everything's up to date.
Where are you spending your time and energy that's not really serving your mission?
Yeah.
And the $45 a month I pay for Chelsey to, help with the bookkeeping. I do most of the bookkeeping myself, but if I have a question, she can go in and fix it. Totally worth it. totally 100% worth it.
And I can't wait till
Saves me so much time.
that doesn't have to be her job and we just have Chelsey full time, right? Like it's exciting to watch the growth and know that there's a plan, right? So yeah, I can do it myself right now, but as I grow, and then like, what is that point of growth? Like, and looking at that stuff, you can't look at that if you don't know what's happening from day to day in your business.
It took me a long time to understand outsourcing. Like really did, as a business owner, it took me a long time to figure that out. And when it comes down to it, I can create revenue with my day, right? I'm the revenue generator in my business. Nobody else is, because I'm a solopreneur, right? So if I can then outsource admin tasks or repetitive tasks, or I can automate my onboarding process, which I just did this year, or I can automate all the things that are repetitive, that saves me a lot of time that then I can then generate revenue. So I feel like when I look at what I'm charging hourly, if I can pay someone else something different, usually less than what I charge, and it saves me that time, why wouldn't I do that? And so when I'm working with a potential new client and they're spending 5 hours a month on their books or 0, and then that creates all the anxiety, right? But even if they're spending 5 hours or 10 hours a month, because of what I do and I'm an expert at it, I can do that in a lot less time, which usually means it makes sense for them to then pay me to do it, right? Because then they free up however many hours a week or a month to do that. And so, but outsourcing, it took me a long time. I will say there's also an emotional component to outsourcing. When it comes to finances, it's very sensitive. And for me personally, I had a lot of guilt or shame around not having my books up to date. I really did. I really struggled with that. Like I knew I should have my books up to date.
Shouldn't on ourselves, right?
And then I wouldn't do it till tax time, and then I'd scramble for 2 weeks. So I never hired someone when I should have. I probably should have hired a bookkeeper in year 2 of our business, and I didn't, because I'd met with Julie Stivers, who is an excellent bookkeeper in Marysville. I'm a big fan of her.
We apologize, Julie, for not using you at the time.
She's the one that said get QuickBooks online, which is what I did. So at least I had a baseline, but I probably should have just hired her, at the time. So I think that that's a big component, especially for women. I work with women the most. So, we think we have to do all the things all by ourselves.
And we don't.
No, that's not true.
No.
Just something we tell ourselves.
We do not have to change the tire, balance the books, make dinner, and vacuum the floor while running our business.
Oh, it's like I look at housekeeping the same way. If I can outsource it to someone that can do it in 2 hours versus me spending however many hours a week doing it, why not?
And I love that too, because like somebody will be like, well, what this came up. I was like, well, why are they so much faster at it than we are? And the house cleaner's like not emotionally attached to stuff. So if they see something on the floor, they just pick it up. They don't like have the emotions of the person that left it there for the millionth time, right? Like there's all these things that happen in our homes that creates this weird dynamic. And then we, so it takes all of that out of it, right?
That's a good analogy for bookkeeping too.
Yeah. I hired a gal to come and clean the house every other week. And guess what? Now I'm able to spend my time on the weekends with my family where it matters, instead of spending the whole weekend cleaning my house. Because she comes on Fridays.
Yes.
So it's great. And then I just make sure that things are picked up at the end of the day on Sunday, and then the rest of the week is cake. I don't have to worry about the dog hair on the floor, and I don't have to worry about spilling my coffee on the kitchen floor this morning.
And then like, when's it gonna get mopped, right? Like, right? Exactly.
I don't have to fight my teenagers. It's so nice.
Bathroom war is over.
Oh, the deep cleaning is what I just hate.
Amen.
The worst. What other questions have you guys had, since really launching and growing so fast? What other bookkeeping or financing questions have come up for you?
What's taxable and what's not when setting up products? And
There's a-
Oh,
stuff.
got
Yeah.
a great resource for that. So, okay, I'll tell you a secret. A lot of us bookkeepers and even accountants, and I mean like tax professionals, 'cause accountants can be kind of both. We look it up all the time. So
Because
when
it
someone,
changes.
well, yeah, but I'll give you an example. So I'll give you two examples. One, I had a client message me, and she's not an ongoing client. She's just someone I've trained in the past. And she said, "Hey, how do I do a refund in QuickBooks?" Guess what? Intuit has articles on everything. As long as it's an Intuit article, it's generally pretty good advice. Um, Sometimes if it's really a hard, a complex situation, you might want to ask a bookkeeper that's certified with QuickBooks. But um, usually there's an article, and that's where I go first. For questions around like, wait, what's taxable in Washington State? Because I'm a business in Washington State. The Department of Revenue's website basically has an entire list. So for example, I had to look up for a nonprofit client, what is use tax? Let me just tell you how complex these things are. And
So,
I'll give you an example. They bought Vimeo's subscription, but Vimeo for some reason didn't charge sales tax. And because they're out of state and it's an online service and they didn't charge sales tax, the client has to report that and pay Washington state sales tax on it. And that's called a use tax. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Probably not, because it's really kind of an out there thing that happens. And but it happens for a lot of people. Salon owners is another one that I see use taxes on, and that's usually because they're buying product out of state and it's coming in from another state or another even sometimes another country. So use tax is something that I had to look up and really delineate what that meant, and I sent that to the client and said, okay, you need to give me a list, because I didn't see her receipts. Give me a list of any vendors that didn't charge sales tax when you purchase something from them last year. So I'm waiting on that, and then I get to file their sales and excise tax return and use tax return. So it's just, those are the types of things that when people ask questions, a lot of times there's a really great resource for it, and that's what I defer to. And I learned that from my CPA, because she does the same thing. I asked her, hey, I have a general contractor, he's asking about this, and she's the CPA for him. And she says, here's the article. And she sent me the link. I was like, oh, cool. Okay.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I rely on my experts for things that I don't speak the language for.
Yes.
And finances, financial accounting, tax law, that kind of stuff, that is beyond my scope of language that I speak. Okay, to me, it's equal to computer code. I don't speak that language. It sounds like Hubert to me. Let's just keep going and just rely on the experts for their help and their wealth of knowledge to help support us in our businesses, because
That's what they're there
that's
for.
what they're there for. And in the grand scheme of things, it is really worth investing in your business in this way. So
And yourself, because think of like the stress and the headache that you're putting yourself into by not addressing it, not approaching it. It's still there, whether you do something or not.
And guessing about legal stuff, tax, don't guess.
yeah.
It will. Have had clients where I didn't know the Department of Revenue can literally put a hold on your bank account if you owe them money, and then you have no money to do anything with. That was scary. They could actually come to your business and lock the doors. I didn't know that was a thing, because of course I don't have a brick and mortar business, but these types of things, there can be serious consequences too. When it comes to the government, and ignorance is not an acceptable excuse to them. If you don't know, you're expected to find out or hire someone to do it. And so it's been, I will say, it's been a real interesting learning process for me too. I mean, geez, I just think about what I didn't know back in my first business. Woo, I guessed a lot, which was not great. But it luckily it didn't bite me in the butt. But I think at the same time, I see a lot of business owners guessing. And I refer a lot of people to lawyers and CPAs all the time because I can't give tax advice, I can't get legal advice, but I can tell you, like, okay, I see this looks like this. You might want to contact someone that knows that, like a lawyer. We had a conversation about that earlier.
We
Yes,
did.
did.
I really love that because you see things from that other side, right? Because we're in the box of the things we know, right? And you have your own box of things and you're like, no, I can see you're going to need some advice over here, and you can kind of direct us in that way. And I love that about what you offer.
And you're so honest about it. You're like, yeah, that's not really what I do, but here's a referral for you for somebody who actually does that.
Yep.
And then you help us with the words of like how to ask the question so we get the right answer too, because sometimes that's, we don't want to waste somebody else's time as well.
Part of that language barrier that I was talking about, right?
It's so funny you say that because so many times, like when I have someone ask me for a list of referrals for CPAs, if they're not a client, I tell them you're not my client, but that I referred you. Or if they are a client, tell them that you're my client and your books are up to date and I referred you, because that matters. Right? When you're referring to somebody like a tax professional who has very limited time, they need to know, like, how much time is this going to take me? If their books aren't up to date, they might not be even ready to hire me yet. They might need a bookkeeper first. So, I like having those conversations with business owners. And even today, I had a call with somebody, a general contractor, who they thought their books were being done all last year, and come to find out, nope. And it's April 18th. And so my first question,
do we have a cry? We go out for a beer and a shot.
I do. I feel really bad for folks that they just don't know and they didn't realize. And so I usually will say, first thing I said was, have you talked to your CPA and did they file an extension? Since it's the 18th. And he goes, yeah, we did that yesterday. I said, excellent. Okay. Woo, we got a little more time. And then I give an estimated time, like, here's a cleanup is going to be at least 30 days. And that's after we onboard. So it could be 2 months. I mean, it just depends on how quickly we onboard. And then after that, your tax professional needs time. So the sooner we onboard, the sooner we get that to your tax professional, and then they get it done before the new deadline, which is usually, I think it's September or October 15th. I can't remember. So even though it seems far away, having an extension is not that far if you have a lot of cleanup work to do. So that's why I say deadlines matter. And that's why I love setting expectation of, here's how much time it takes to onboard. Here's how much time it takes to do a cleanup for a year. Here's how much time it takes me to get you all caught up. And then okay, I shouldn't expect reports until June, 2 months out. So yeah. You don't want to think it's going to happen in a week and then it's 2 months later.
Right. So I contacted you about bookkeeping back in October.
Right.
Yep. And then within like a month or two, I was like, by January, I was like, I need to start talking to the CPA about taxes because it's January. It's the end of the year that I'm going to have to file taxes for. So then Chelsey gave us a great referral for a CPA. And it's just been so nice to not have to worry about that. And then there's been a few times where I've called Chelsey and I'm like, yeah, I screwed something up in QuickBooks. Can you help me fix it? And sometimes she's able to talk me through it or send me a YouTube link to fix something. Other times it's a phone call and it's like, okay, what are you seeing? Where's this going? Let's make sure this is up. But then not only does she help me fix the thing, but she shows me how to fix it if the same thing happens again later. So I love that about you and how you work, Chelsey, and I appreciate you and everything you're doing for us and for our community. And our cause of the quarter this quarter is the Marysville Police Foundation, which we are all three members of the boards of, and we are just getting everything launched.
The first fundraiser's coming up.
Yeah.
We'll be out of town, unfortunately, but that's okay. It's still happening. Gonna go listen to some music. I'm pretty jealous.
At the Creamery in Marysville. It's pretty cool.
It's next Friday at 5.
Yeah.
Yep. So 1 week from this recording live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So 1 week from right now today.
And it's
Gary
only
can.
it's only $5 to get in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to pay $5 to go to the music side, you could just go over and buy some food, and that they're also doing proceeds to the organization. So either which way, even if you just want a snack, you'll benefit
Come
the
have a coffee or an ice. They have
Oh,
frozen yogurt. They have
Yeah.
really great bakery
Their
items.
pastries are awesome.
And you can sit by the fire and listen to some music while you have your ice cream and freeze. So
hopefully by then it will be warmer out.
we
we're
keep
hoping.
open. April
That's what we're
showers bring May flowers, right?
And so, Chelsey, I want to thank you again for joining us today. It's been an amazing chat with you. We love talking to you. We could talk to you all day long
I know.
about
Sometimes we
money
do.
and finances and all these great things that we're working on in the world and in the back end of things. But yeah, if you guys want to hear more about the Marysville Police Foundation,
Stay tuned for the cause of the quarter announcement. Thank you so much for joining us today at the table, and thank you again to Chelsey.
Namaste.
Mwah.
We take the mystery and pain out of social media consistency for your business, giving you back time to shine in your zone of genius. Social media is the new branding. It deserves its own attention, thought, and effort. Yet so few businesses actually take this seriously and invest enough time on their strategy. We can do it for you at an affordable rate that will fit into your budget and allow you to pursue other revenue channels as well. The hardest part of social media management is keeping up the consistency to be seen and know what to post, when to post. Are you ready to have everything ready to go for you, saving you time and energy by not having to do it all yourself? Still getting your message out so that people get to know you, like you, and develop trust while opening yourself up to more time for the business of your business where you shine. Working with Women in Leadership, BSMB LLP, is a unique experience that bridges the gap from face-to-face to virtual relationship marketing. Not only do we love to help you shine on social media, we love to share tools to help you grow with us, body, soul, mind, and business. Check out our podcast and YouTube channel for Mindset Mondays, Social Media Training Wednesdays, business interviews and special topics on Fridays, and weekly readings on Sundays. To schedule your consultation or podcast interview, head to our website, www.womeninleadershipbsmb.com. Our weekly readings on Sunday, our podcast, Mindset Monday, social media training with Heather on Wednesdays, guest interviews, and special topics on Fridays. Thank you for joining us. Find out more and schedule with us online at www.womeninleadershipbsmb.com, where you have a spot at the table. Thank you for joining in on the fun. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.